Climate Friday is brought to you by School Strikes for Climate Change and Green Music Australia. I'm your host, Nkechi Anele, bringing you some love and joy from Naarm. And before we start, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land in which we work and live and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and this land always was and always will be Aboriginal land. Climate Fridays, what is it all about? Well, we're here to energise you to stay active during the pandemic, stop fossil fuel expansion and strengthen solidarity between First Nations, school strikers and the Australian music scene. I'm so excited this week because we don't have one, we've got two artists for you, as well as a really awesome conversation on its way. But first, let's kick things off with my friend and hopefully yours, Jen Cloher. Hey, Jen.
Hey, Nkechi. How you going, mate?
Fantastic. I look forward to these Fridays every week. It's kind of the highlight of the week for me at the moment. You're also in, as we speak, in stage 4. This is a bit of an interesting question that we've been asking everybody when they come on for Climate Fridays. But what was your introduction into activism? When did you start getting involved in activism, whether that be in the music community or just in general?
I think the first action I took was actually in on Ghana country in Adelaide, Tanzania. Which is where I saw you last. And I went on a march for climate change.
Yeah.
And I think I was wearing a T-shirt that said, "Good planets are hard to find." And I was playing bongos. I had a set of
Love
bongos.
it.
I think like 15 or something like that. So, you know, I think it's always been there in my life in different ways. Yeah.
That's amazing. That is also an awesome slogan for a T-shirt.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know, you know those T-shirts that you get and you wear them until they're literally like a rag with a few holes. It was one of those T-shirts.
Love it. Love it so much. Tonight we get to be blessed by your music. I'm so excited to hear this track that you're playing for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Shall I play it? Shall I kick it?
Let's give it a red hot go.
All right. I'm gonna play a song from my my last album. It's a song called Regional Echo, and I was listening to a really fantastic conversation this week with First Nations writer Tony Birch, and he was talking about how he loves to go walking, and on his walks he kind of processes whatever he's writing next, whether that's a short story or a novel, and he said that, you know, wherever he walks, wherever he is in the world, he asks himself, whose country am I on? And it really stayed with me, that idea that wherever I go, whose country am I on? And to know something about those people. And so I guess, you know, I'm in stage 4 lockdown in my front room. I'm on Wurundjeri land, and just down the road from me is the Mary Creek, or the Mary Mary, which was before settler colonialism, a really rich food source for Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people. So this song, I guess, is kind of my experience of growing up in this country as a young child, not knowing the truth. So I guess it kind of has that suburban feeling to it that maybe people can relate to. Regional Echo. A miners bully the suburbs out beyond the haze. Seaside holiday houses lay quiet as a grave. Tombs of dreams past, wealth gone to waste. The Australian dream is fading, stolen anyway. And I'm never gonna lose my head to a setting sun. I'm never gonna dream of things that just can't be done. I'm never gonna say, never gonna do, never gonna be anything more than what's expected of me. It's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Pavement too hard to walk on barefoot, so you hop and skip. Prawns in wheelie bins marinate, a cocktail and a stink. That's weighing on the power line. Wings open and surrender. This is how you die. And I'm never gonna lose my head to a setting sun. I'm never gonna dream of things that just can't be done. I'm never gonna say, never gonna do, never gonna be anything more than what's expected of me.
Rock on. Such a beautiful and powerful song. We're getting a lot of beautiful comments coming through. We are live streaming this on Facebook, and there's heaps of messages coming in saying, yeah, Jen, hey, Jen, long time no see. Climate Fridays with heaps of love hearts. Shout out to the people as well outside of Australia, Lee from the US, who is watching this, and as well as all the messages of love coming in for the school strike for climate change. Such a cool and powerful way to start this Friday. Thank you so much, Jen, for sharing your music with us.
Pleasure.
Now we're going to be joined by some more fabulous, strong and powerful women. Tish King, who is the Sea Community Organizer, is joining us once again. Hi, Tish, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you today?
I'm feeling good. It's so awesome to have you back in this conversation. I'm so excited for tonight. Not only are we joined by you, but we're joined by School Strike for Climate, Anne Sharma as well, making her debut with Climate Fridays. Hello.
Hi.
And last but not least, Rachael Lia as well, who will be playing her beautiful music at the end of this beautiful conversation. And there, once again, is so much love coming in on Facebook as we go live, and also something to look out for. Of course, we are coming together because we don't want public funding to go towards gas and damaging fossil fuels. And we're trying to put a stop to the government using this pandemic to funnel money towards fracking. So you can help us out with signing a petition that is pinned to the comments in Facebook, and also visiting Seed Mob to see how you can help this country out. Great. So lovely to have you all here. First, Tish King, I'm going to jump into a convo with you. Last week, we talked about the elections that were happening in the NT. I just wanted to touch base and see what was happening with that, and if you could give us a bit of an update.
Yeah, definitely. So happy to be here. This is exactly like I'm looking forward to Climate Fridays. This is my highlight of the week. But before I begin, and for those new folks that are actually joining us live, my name is Tish, and as Nkechi said, I am the community organizer at Seed Mob, and I am a proud Torres Strait Islander woman with strong connections to Muswellbrook Island and Badu Island. And before I sort of delve into this conversation, I would like to acknowledge country as well, knowing that we are all, well, I think we're all tuning in at the same place, but for everyone else, where I am, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people and other surrounding clans of the Kulin Nation, and I would like to pay my respects to the elders past, present, and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. And shout out to all my brothers and sisters out there that do identify as First Nation on your country, in your community. Happy to see you all here. Those who you all that did miss the first couple of Climate Fridays, for those who don't actually know who Seed Mob are, we are Australia's first Indigenous youth climate network, and we have been building a movement of young Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander young people to protect their land, their rivers and oceans from the causes and harmful impacts of climate change. And since 2014, we have been bringing Mob all across our islands and at our far corners of this of Australia, and been, you know, encouraging and inspiring and upskilling and training our mob to, you know, lead and change their communities and collectively take action on our campaigns. We sort of mentioned that it was just NT elections last week and coming up to it, and we were sort of, for those who don't know, our main campaign has been actually sharing awareness and illustrating we don't frack the NT. And that was just because we saw that the severity of the situation of if gas fracking was introduced into those communities would have detrimental effects to our Aboriginal communities. And so right now, 51% of the Northern Territory is covered in exploration licenses for oil and gas. What a bloody joke, hey? Proper gammon. And if all of this went ahead, much of our Aboriginal-owned land would have their country polluted by the shale gas industries, led by companies like Origin Energy, with other energy companies like Santos waiting in the wings to follow their lead. And now in unprecedented times, we are facing this health pandemic, and despite our remote communities being most at risk, we are seeing big fossil fuel corporations cozying up to their mates in politics so that they can continue to wreck our climate by digging up for that coal and gas. And we need to hold our governments and these corporations accountable for their actions. It's our health and our communities over their dirty profits. And so for the last couple of months, our Seed Mob team have been down on the ground, going from community to community, going from door to door, and educating our mob about the importance of a vote and the difference it can make. And successfully, we have actually seen our mob utilize the option of pre-polling, and which was just fantastic to be in time for the election, because what we found out was that when polling booths open in communities, they're only up for half an hour of the day, and then that's it. They go to the next community. And we just thought, hang on, that can't be right. How does not our vote matter? Does not our voice count? And so it's been a really, really big job. Half the team are actually taking the week off, which has been actually nice for them to breathe, because it's been crazy busy. But what this really means is that it could be a turning point for our people, because by supporting them to elevate their voices, it can really shift the way decisions are being made in the Northern Territory for Aboriginal communities.
Yeah, so eloquently put as well, Tish. Thank you so much for sharing that information and showing what change that our Seed Mob is trying to push forward and empower their communities.
No, thank you. And sorry, sometimes I like start getting louder, and I realize I'm bloody so passionate. What's happening?
No, the passion is infective. I'm reading the comments that are coming through. There's heaps of people signing the petition on Facebook and sharing it as well, which is great. I'd love to jump to you, and here with School Strike for Climate, and getting heaps of love and support on the text line as well. So great to have you here. I'd love that if you could tell us a bit about your journey becoming a part of School Strike for Climate.
Yeah, for sure. So, I am originally from India. So I have family in India who they live on a farm, and so their main source of income always has been, farming, and so they relied on the monsoon season for their income and their food, and so. Every year I saw the impacts of climate change as the monsoon season in India, it got shorter, it got weaker, there wasn't enough rain, and their income suffered, their food security suffered. And so I've always had a personal connection to climate change. And then moving to Australia, I'm so privileged to not have to experience that poor food security, but still, since 2012, I remember hearing about that summer as being the worst summer Australia's ever faced, and then somehow every single summer since then has also been the worst summer Australia's faced. And so I just, what do you do with all that anger and anxiety that you feel that, it's just getting worse? You have to do something. So I joined this incredible network of young people to try and take our futures back into our own hands and show our politicians that we want a clean environment with focus on clean jobs and First Nations justice.
That is amazing and so powerful, Ange. I'd love if you could talk a little bit more about what's happening on September 25th and how people can get involved, and also how that helps with allyship towards First Nations people. As someone myself who is not First Nations, I'd really love to know.
Yeah, for sure. So September 25th, our event is called Build Our Future, Climate Justice and Jobs. So it's our next big national day of action, and basically what we want to do is bring everyone together in obviously not physically, keeping with public health guidelines, but we want to bring everyone together to show our politicians that gas is not a transition fuel, gas is not a clean fuel, and we can't rely on gas to get ourselves out of the COVID-19 pandemic. And so what's happening is all around the country, based on how restrictions and how the pandemic situation is there's going to be either small actions or centralized actions, or there's also going to be an online rally, which that will be launched later. And so that's what we want to do. We want to educate people on why gas is detrimental to our country, and we're going to be giving them heaps of actions. So phone jams, hopefully email jams, and really just a day of action centralized towards, trying to show our politicians that we don't want gas in our country. And I think that really fits into Indigenous solidarity, as we'll be organising September 25th with Indigenous solidarity at the forefront of our minds, as we should with every event, because we all know that people of colour and First Nations people will be disproportionately affected by the climate crisis, as Tish so eloquently talked about. They are currently seeing the effects with fracking will contaminate water supplies and destroy traditional land. So I think it's really important to have First Nation solidarity at the forefront of our minds, and we hope to do that with September 25th.
Wow, I don't think powerful words have. I feel like it's one of the most powerful explanations that we've had from a school strike for climate, and there's heaps of support coming through from Stanthorpe team saying that they love you and they're so proud of the voice that you're bringing to this conversation. I'd also love to welcome Rachael Lia, who's also in NAM and who will be performing after this conversation. Welcome to this group, and I'd really love to know, for you, how did you get involved in activism? What kind of ignited your passion for this?
Well, I'm a First Nations person, so being someone whose family has had to deal with things like this, it's passionate enough, like, for me to want to be involved. And I also lost my house in a bushfire in 2003 in Ngunnawal country, which shouldn't have happened. People lost their lives, and I was very lucky that didn't happen to me or anyone that I love. But yeah, there's so many things that shouldn't be happening and don't have to be. And it's just a matter of wanting to be a part of helping with that resolution and solution.
Love it. Tish and Rachael, what does it mean to support each other and for support to come through the generations? What has been your experience when it comes to either having the first-hand devastating effects of losing land and losing country?
Me? Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's just not something that you ever wish anybody to experience. And, mine's on a completely different level than the millions and millions of my ancestors and what they've been and still are going through. I live in a society. I live, where they can just rebuild, and it's not like that in, rural country. And, I want to be able to support the people who still want to live the traditional way, and so they should. Like, we shouldn't be taking that away from anybody.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that you bring up. Tish King, I was wondering, is this something as well that's deeply considered when you do work outreaching into communities to update them on what's happening to their country and to their land through Seed Mob and the initiatives that you have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, First Nations people have been the first conservationists on this country. And so what sort of Ange had mentioned about her childhood in India and sort of knowing, growth and patterns through seasonal changes is something as well that First Nations people have been able to sort of, sustainably survive for that long. And we're just seeing those changes now. And what would have happened, every so often is just happening too often, too soon. And those shifts are just exacerbated. And this is due to the fossil fuels industry. It's sort of exactly what, like Rachael was just saying, that it is really hard to explain that feeling, because it is no denying that First Nations people are so intrinsically entwined and connected to country. And when our country is hurting, we are hurting. And we are so inherently a part of the natural ecosystems, and our bloodlines run deep into the land and oceans. And, you know, I think coming sort of here together is an indication of how we do stand in solidarity, how we work with other organizations that are fighting for the same justice. And, you know, for those who don't identify as First Nation, that's good allyship, being here, hearing those conversations and being a part of this. Because honestly, when I look around, it is just incredible to be on this platform with all of you, incredible women leading in your community and of color. Honestly, amazing. Can I get a what? Exactly.
That's so great. Jen Cloher, I want to speak to you as coming from the music industry. One of the things that you're really great as a powerful advocate for, whether it's through I Manage My Music or just the independent music scene and fighting for artists' rights. I wanted to ask you, what is the power that autonomy gives you as an artist, and how do you see that in other areas of activism?
Yeah, look, I think what really inspires me about Seed Mob and School Strike for Climate is really the same energy that drives a lot of independent artists, in that it's DIY, you know, like we raise the funds, we make the work, we set up the events, we take it on the road, and, you know, people come, you know, people are drawn to the energy of people taking action. And so I guess I really identify with activism from that point of view, because it's about not waiting around for someone to fix something. It's about, being self-determined. And I think really for me, something I think that we can all relate to is the devastating bushfires that we saw over summer. And I think it just touched every single person that lives in this country. And I think it was like a really big wake-up call. And I actually have and hold a lot of hope for the collective and the collective conscience. And I guess I'm here today to stand in solidarity, but also take some responsibility. I think we have a tendency a little bit, you know, like I'm in my 40s. A lot of my friends have children. And sometimes we kind of go, oh, the next generation, they'll fix it, you know, or like, oh, have you heard them? They're all amazing. They'll take care of business. And it's like, yeah, they are, and they will, but also what are we doing? You know, what action can I take today? You know, what can I do? So I'm here for it. I am 100% here for it. I've been, and I'll shut off my rant in a little bit, but I'm really passionate about this. I've been reading everything I can get my hands on about what's happening with gas, what's happening with coal in this country, the economic history of this country, how we find ourselves in this position today, the fact that a gas-led recovery is actually insanity because no one wants our gas. No one wants our coal anymore. The future is in renewables. We live in this vast country with incredible wind and sun and water. And I just think it is a matter of time, you know, before things change. And I think what we're seeing in activists like Seed Mob, like amazing Tish and Ange from School Strike for Climate, is just the vanguard, the arrow's head, you know, of what's coming. So I really believe that in the next 5 to 10 years, shit is going to change, and I'm here for it.
Love it. Such a powerful point to make. It is so amazing. And I wanted to ask you, like, as someone who's of the quote unquote younger generation, is that the kind of reverent that you want to hear, that we're taking responsibility for our actions and helping support you for your future?
I love to hear that because like like I've said, we can't do this without everyone, absolutely everyone on board. And that's the point of September 25th, is to bring everyone together from all walks of life, younger generation, older generation, people of color, First Nations people, fossil fuel workers. We stand in solidarity with everyone. When we say build a better future, we say build a better future for everyone, not just for the younger generation, but for absolutely everyone. And we can't do that when we only have the younger generation behind us. We want everyone on board, and together, that's how we change. That's how we make change.
Awesome. Well, it's getting to that part of the night. I can't believe this goes so quickly every week. I wish we could talk nonstop until midnight, if not longer. But I'd just like to say thank you so much, Jen Cloher, for your beautiful music and conversation. Thank you so much to Anne Sharma from School Strike for Climate. And thank you once again, Tish King, for joining us and blowing my mind every week with your beautiful conversation and just all out powerful vibes. You are three phenomenal women that I love speaking to, and taking us out is an even more phenomenal woman. Her name is Rachael Lia. She debuted her music this year with Talk Back Radio, and I'm so glad that she is finishing this conversation with us tonight for Climate Fridays.
Thank you. Cool. So I thought it only fitting to write the song that I wrote about losing my house in a bushfire. It's one of the first real songs, I guess, I wrote, and it's called Flames and Fire. Smoke fill my lungs on a hot summer's day. The sky was red with rage as the flames headed our way. Hope choked my heart as I drove up our street. Our future slipped away, and I felt instant defeat. Flames and fire, wrecked and rearranged. Pain I can't describe. My life forever changed. I felt a sickness, and I crumbled to the floor. Our future turned to ashes, 'cause the fire took it all. The room I'm now call mine, there's nothing special here. What's the point in trying? Connections only bring me fear. Flames and fire, wrecked and rearranged. Pain I can't describe. My life I can't describe. My life forever changed. Oh, flames and fire, fire and flames. My life forever changes day.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Rachel. I feel very moved and very touched to be able to hear that song, knowing your experience of this year and everything. Thank you so much for joining us on Climate Fridays and sharing your beautiful kick-ass music. It's stunning.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a great Climate Friday, probably our strongest to date. And thank you to everyone that has joined in on this live stream around Australia and around the world. Hi to all our internationals. And if you love this, share the word, because we're back every Friday for the next couple of weeks, bringing together conversations about what we can do and who we can support to stop public funds going towards gas and damaging fossil fuels, and also telling the government that it's not cool for us to be putting funds into fracking and destroying our environment. Thank you so much to Jen Cloher, Tish King and Anne Sharma, as well as Rachael Lia. And just before we leave, if you are looking for ways in which you can help, we have pinned a petition to Origin Energy that you can help sign, and we'd love it if you can pass it along. If you want to check out what Seed Mob is doing, it's seedmob.org.au, and you can also find them on Instagram at Seed Mob. It's been my pleasure meeting you every Friday for the past couple of weeks and into the future. What a way to end the week on such a high. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll be back next week. Peace.